Good morning, Chicago. What is up? Welcome to the Bears Huddle podcast with me, your host, Eric James, your UK take on all things Chicago Bears. Yes, we're here in the UK, bringing you all the latest. Please obviously smash that sub and help to build the community across the pond. Look, it's a better Monday morning, isn't it, to be waking up after a Chicago victory on Sunday against them Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? Gotta say, more like them cowgirls. The Matt Eberflus revenge match is over. The Bears come out on top, and Flus's defense did not look at all clever. And I think the big positive we take from that game yesterday is we finally have a team that is starting to look like a Ben Johnson team, a team that is coached by Ben Johnson, a team that is brought on by Ben Johnson. Some trick plays out there. The offense looked more in sync. It looked more showing more progress. There looked to be more intensity, more ability to the offense. And look, even the defense deserves a shout out as well with all those players missing. Yes, there was some, people just about making it, and there were some people really stepping up and playing well yesterday for the defense. And I thought Dennis Allen got a little bit creative, got the pass rush home, got the pass rush after Dak, and caused them problems. And look, as bad as the Dallas Cowboys defense is, and let's face it, their defense does absolutely stink. I mean, it stinks worse than a steaming pile of my dog's crap. It really does. The offense is still pretty much a threat, and the defense did a solid job today of holding them to only 14 points, which is a very, very good result indeed. But we're going to reflect on a lot of positives here and a lot of positives. We're also going to look at a few developments, a few things that really do need to pick up ahead of the game in Vegas next weekend. And so let's face it, if we can go into the bye week at 2-2, suddenly the situation looks a whole lot better. It gives Ben something to build on during that bye week, doesn't it? It gives him a kind of real foundation to go forward for the rest of the season. So hopefully come November, December, January, we are playing meaningful games still, and we're not the bad news Bears anymore. Look, you can't get through a video like this without talking about the big positive for me. And I think, this guy not only has one positive, but there's a good couple of positives coming out of it, which was the performance of Caleb Williams, really shutting the Bajan baddies down today. Caleb was fantastic today, really, really good. And we saw progress. That is the big thing. The progression there is clear. He is getting better. His confidence in the pocket is getting better. His quickness of getting them to the huddle, of calling the plays, is getting better, all as the head coach himself said. I think we've got to remember this guy is still learning. He is still developing. He is still trying to get this team and get himself to a position where we can be considered one of the threats in the NFC and therefore ergo in the NFL as well. Caleb, 19 of 28, 298 yards, 4 pass TDs, could have quite easily been 5. Obviously the one that hit Roma Dunze in the hands that he didn't catch, still don't know how he misses that one, but some real highlights in those touchdown passes obviously, but some throws as well that to me that just stood him out. There's one where he goes out on a bootleg and he's got a guy in his face, yet he still completes the throw. Tell me Tyson Bagent can complete that throw. Of course he couldn't, Bagent baddies. Caleb is a decent quarterback. He is one hell of a quarterback, and I'm sorry, but he is the man. He will take this team forward. I confidently predict that, guys. I predict that all along, that this is the man. This is the man. He will take this team forward, and I think we've got to keep this development going. We've got to do something we haven't done in Chicago for an awful long time, which is develop a quarterback, and we are doing it with Caleb. Obviously, one of the other big things was that flea flicker that he absolutely cruise missiles down the field towards Luther Burden, who also had himself a day as well. We'll talk a little bit of Luther Burden shortly, but I mean, that throw, flat-footed, off his front foot, length down the pitch, 100%. Massive throw, takes out the Dallas Cowboys secondary. Did you see the strop they threw, the throwing of the helmet on the floor as I think it was Hooker came off? Jeez, man, he was not a happy bunny, was he? But Caleb, what a throw, what a cruise missile exocet throw to Luther Burden, and a trick play, guys, a trick play. Great to see. And the fact that we're starting to put out some of those trick plays, we're starting to put out some of that creativity, is going to make teams sit up and take notice. It's going to take teams to go, geez, the Bears have got some tricks in their lockers this season. We're going to have to plan for that. We're going to have to watch that. That is something that we're going to have to keep on top of. And you've got to really credit Caleb and, of course, Ben Johnson for that. Obviously, another massive positive was the continued developing relationship, shall I say, between Rome Odunze and Caleb Williams. Rome was fantastic again. He gets his touchdown, of course. The link is quite clearly developing between the two of them. Look, I'm going to say this now. DJ Moore is no longer wide receiver 1. He is wide receiver 2, 3, possibly even behind Luther Burden. Wide receiver 1 for me is now Rome Odunze. That is the guy who is the main man for me now. He is the guy who is the wide receiver 1 going forward. He is class, absolute class act, Rome Odunze. A great route runner, obviously, as we know, better route runner than DJ. So definitely a big positive there. Look, on the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to give a shout out to this guy. There's a couple of guys I want to give a shout out to, actually, including guys that I've called out all of last week. Perhaps I should do it more. They might play better. But Tremaine Edmonds obviously has had a lot of criticism with his start to the season. People really questioning his contract, questioning his ability, questioning what he's doing for the Bears. But he had himself a day yesterday. 2 interceptions of Dak Prescott. Always good to see Dak the Choke Prescott failing. And 15 total tackles, which broke down as I think it was 6 individuals and 9 assisted in total for Tremaine Edmonds, but 15 total tackles. Tremaine Edmonds played like his hair was on fire. He played some good ball yesterday. He really was top class. The other guy I want to give a bit of a shout out to is Tyreek Stevenson. Look, Tyreek could come in for criticism, and rightly so, after his performances in week 1 and week 2, where, let's face facts, he was not good. He was not good at all. He gave up a perfect passer rating in every single game. Now, maybe something today to do with the fact that the pass rush, the D-line, the edges got a little bit more to Dak Prescott. They got after him a little bit more. Yes, against a very young and developing offensive line, still not a great O-line in Dallas, but still brought it there a little bit more, which I think did help the secondary to some degree. Tyreek Stevenson with 2 tackles, 1 assisted tackle, and a real kind of momentum changer, wasn't it, when he reached in and he strips that ball in the first quarter. I think Tyreek had himself a game. He answered some of the critics, including myself, and he did well. He did very, very well. Also, if you concentrate on the defensive side of the ball for a minute, like I said, the defense did step it up, did play a whole lot better today than it did, obviously, against the Lions and against the Vikings. Also, I think Noah Sewell had a very good game again, another very good performance, really giving Dennis DA a problem. Let's face it, once TJ Edwards is back, how does he incorporate the good form of Edmonds? Obviously, TJ Edwards been back, and Noah Sewell, who was 6 tackles, 5 assisted, 11 total tackles on the day. And at times, when the Cowboys were moving the ball well in that first quarter and the second quarter, he was the guy who was stopping stuff. He was the guy who was getting to the tackle and doing the job. So, respect to him. I thought, as well, Montez Sweat gets a sack. Well done, Montez. Obviously answering the critics again. You've been called out this week. You came back. You did the right thing. Dominique Robinson as well gets a sack on the day as well. Yes, look, it was not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Nashawn Wright and Nick McLeod are not good at all. They are bad. And against a better team, they will suffer. So that's something that still needs to be addressed, in my opinion, if we can get through next week at Vegas. I think obviously going into the bye and coming out of the bye, we need something addressed in the cornerback room alongside Tyreek Stevenson for me. Obviously with Jalen Johnson likely out for the year, Nashawn Wright and Nick McLeod are certainly not the answer in the slightest. But the DA's defense was a whole lot better today. Really did a job for the Bears. Look, I want to shout out these 2 guys on offense. For me, these 2 guys will be wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2, I think, as this season goes on. I think we'll see an even bigger fall off in DJ Moore's participation, shall we say, in the Bears offense. I think these 2 guys really have a huge future. Rome Odunze, obviously the big guy, obviously had over 100 yards last week, only 62 today, but still absolutely superb today. 3 receptions, 62 yards, averaging 20.7 yards per catch, 1 TD. His understanding, with Caleb is really growing. Odunze, 3 straight weeks now, touchdowns. That 35-yard score as well. This guy is going to be, I think, one of the league's outstanding wideouts. He is really going to be a top option for the Bears, and I think definitely going to improve on his rookie stat line of 734 yards last season. Odunze quite clearly is becoming the main man, I think, on the Bears offense. Luther Burden, another one, 3 receptions, over 100 yards for the rookie, 33.7, including that awesome touchdown catch on that flea flicker from Mr. Caleb Williams today. Look, he is a good guy. He is a top guy. He's got top shelf playmaking ability. I think he should start to see a real increase in reps going forward now. And I really do see, like I've just said, I think, DJ Moore's involvement in this offense comes increasingly limited over the next few weeks. And we see a real growth, I think, in the usage of Rome Odunze and Luther Burden. But Caleb, I think, really did make that step forward today. And I think, having the likes of Odunze, having the likes of Zacchaeus was good as well. But, Luther Burden really did help matters indeed. Honestly, guys, I'm not blowing this up. I'm not trying to get sensationalism after one game, but this guy has the talent, Caleb Williams, to take this team forward. Now, look, yes, we won. Yes, we get that victory, and that's the important thing, to get that win. Of course it is. But yes, there are still things we need to work on. I've mentioned some of the defensive things already. I think the usage of the tight ends needs to increase. It really, really genuinely does. If you look at the usage of the tight ends today in that game, obviously, yes, Colston Loveland goes out with a hip. Now, hopefully that is not serious and Colston gets back involved next week, or if not next week, at least after the bye. But, in terms of the tight end usage, there was not a lot of tight end usage at all today, and I think we still need to see more use of the tight ends. Cole Kmet, 1 catch, 10 yards for a touchdown, and Colston Loveland 1 catch for 31 yards. Colston Loveland blowing that big play, obviously quality from Loveland. So I do think we do need to see more offensive use of the tight ends if we are going to continue to develop this offense. Another area that I am still very, very, very concerned about is the running game. Yes, we did run the ball a lot more, which I think helped, along with the quality pass blocking from the O-line, did help set up the passing game. So the pass blocking was excellent, and that helps. And I think the fact we showed we were willing to try and run the ball and try different people running the ball, I think shows that we are making progress. We are trying to set up that run game. But in terms of the actual production of the run game, it is still very, very poor. DeAndre Swift, I am sorry, I cannot stand this guy. He is absolute dog water. He is trash. The guy is trash. 13 carries, 33 yards, 2.5 per carry, and loads of examples where instead of going for the hard yards, getting those yards up the middle, he's trying to bounce outside, he's trying to do something else, he's getting happy feet. Sorry, guys. DeAndre Swift, get him out of here. Get him out of Chicago. The guy is trash. Carl Manungai, 6 for 16. Rookie still learning the game, 2.7 yards per carry. Caleb, 5 carries, 12 yards. Alameda Zacchaeus got 1 carry for 12 yards. DJ Moore, 3 carries for 7. And Luther Burden, the third. I would like to see Luther Burden more in that Debo role. Like the Niners used to use Debo Samuel. Can we get Luther Burden perhaps? I think he's got that in his game. 1 for 7, a little bit of an element. Now, look, I don't know what the answer is. We know that the O-line is not as good at run blocking as it is at pass blocking, but it still ain't terrible. 1.89 yards before contact is still ranking very highly. It was ranking before this week first in the NFL. But for me, this run game is still a major, major worry going forward. And it's something that Ben Johnson and Eric Bieniemy, who is the running back coach, needs to kind of figure out a way forward with this, because for me, they ain't doing it. And like I said, DeAndre Swift is trash. Carmen Ungai, yes, I think, we do need to see perhaps more of Carmen Ungai, but he's still very raw. There was the one where he runs backwards when he doesn't need to. There's development there. He is a rookie. Now, do we go out and find someone, a street free agent that could come in and step this up and improve this? That could be something that they look at in the buy. Bring somebody in the buy and say, look, guys, these guys, we do need something. We need to improve this somehow. Ben Johnson needs to look at this and say, yeah, something needs to get done on this one, because this ain't good. This ain't good, guys. It really ain't good. It's not the answer. The way we're playing is not the answer. We've got to look at people who can come in and make a difference at this running back position, because I'll be honest with you, this worries me still. This lack of free agents, lack of good quality players really does concern me going forward. Look, it worked today. Don't get me wrong, it works today, but going forwards, you need to find some way to bring this on, to develop this. Now, I'm not saying that these guys are the answer, but someone, maybe someone coming in to develop this, like a Jamal Williams, for example, who is still without a team, someone like that to kind of try and make this a bit different. You've got the puncher in Manungai. You need someone with a bit more finesse out there, a finesse back. Who can we go out and get? Because it's quite clear that DeAndre Swift is not the answer. And that is the one area of the offense that I thought didn't look good yesterday in that game, was that run game, and it does need to be developed and picked up really going forward. Look, there is far more optimism in Chicago. There is far more positives than negatives, obviously, coming off the back of that win. And look, I ain't getting carried away. We're not going to win the Super Bowl. We ain't going to win the NFC Championship just because we beat the Dallas Cowboys, who are absolute trash. They're not great. They're not a great side. They're a good offense. They're a crap defense. They've got Flus, let's face it. Why wouldn't they be? But there is cause for positivity. There is cause for optimism. The big thing has to come. Can we follow this up? Can we back this up next week against the Vegas Raiders? If we beat the Vegas Raiders and go into the bye at 2-2, things start looking a whole lot better. Go into the bye at 1-3. You're going to have concerns again, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching the Bears Huddle podcast. We will catch you on the other side. Guys, all the best. Catch you soon.